So this is the best Zelda game ever made?
I think it is ZSR Marathon. People might debate us on that, but I think it's the greatest too.
People in the Zelda 2 community are going to kill me for saying that.
So Timon is running the no major glitches category here, and basically what that means is any glitch that would allow the player to skip a dungeon or a significant chunk of the game is not allowed for use. So we'll be seeing like mostly intended style play, although there will be a few smaller things that he uses, smaller glitches.
Probably talk about those as they come up. Mostly, It's a mostly glitchless, but not totally glitchless run.
Yeah, and like a lot of Zelda games, especially the earlier ones, he's playing on Japanese, mostly because of the text. It's like a minute faster in this category, just on text alone, compared to English. But there are also a few small glitches that are exclusive to this particular version he's playing, Japanese 1.0 version.
Yeah, I believe that's like fake flippers and the spin dash, correct?
Yeah.
It's also that Timon can't speak English, so.
Yeah. Timon is from Germany. He's been getting really good at this game lately. He's gotten a 124, which is an incredible time. Still only several people have a 124 or better in the game.
Yeah, he's like very close to the top now.
Yeah. So the boomerang is one of the few optional items he's actually getting. It's just a little bit faster to get it. Helps with some small things in a few rooms. It only takes like a second to grab, so.
And here we've saved Zelda, so it's the end of the game.
So this game is pretty optimized with lots of little techniques to speed up Link's movement. One of these is like these stairs that come into rooms. If your first movement is down, you get like this little 7 or 8 frame stutter. You can avoid that by making your first movement to the left or the right.
Yeah, there's a lot of small techniques to avoid lag, including coming out of doorways, like holding direction that's left or right coming out of a north-south door, for instance, will save you time. All except for the one he just came out of.
Yeah.
Yeah, a lot of this game is optimizing lots and lots and lots of little moves.
Yeah, for sure. Of course, one of the notorious techniques that people just love to hear talked about is wall pumping.
Yeah, I love wall pumping so much. For anyone who doesn't actually know what pumping is, we'll go ahead and get this out of the way. It's a technique that basically, if you're moving west or north, you have a speed cycle of 2 pixels and then 1 pixel. It basically resets the cycle to constantly give you a 2 pixel boost. So you're moving, if done perfectly, you would be moving at 2 pixels up per frame, which is faster than your standard 1.5 movement speed, so it's faster to go that direction.
Yeah, and if you ever watch a task for this game, you can turbo the inputs. The movement looks a whole lot faster because of that. But
that rat right there, it's pretty much always guaranteed to spawn on the left side of the screen and has the key, but you're not exactly certain where on the left. So there's certain bits of RNG in this game that you have to route around, and you will lose time on a run to that quite often. It's minor time, but just like everything else in this game, it adds up.
He's done with the first part of the game. It's nice. He'll be grabbing this heart container over here, knowing him, and especially since it's a marathon run. Some top players will skip it. It saves like 3 seconds to skip it, but man, that extra heart container is really nice. Really nice to have.
Especially when you come up to Palace of Darkness so early with so little health.
Yeah, for sure.
I think really that's the first place in the run that it can kind of start getting pretty difficult health-wise.
Yeah, and even this first dungeon here has some kind of tight health routing because you need to do a damage boost for a certain trick.
Oh, yes.
Mention when we get there, yeah.
So quite often during the run, you'll see Timon use the boomerang to stun enemies. Once an enemy is stunned, they won't do damage. You can just pass right through them. The boomerang is actually quite quick. It's faster than the sword swing, so it's more effective to like just stun an enemy oftentimes and try and knock it out of the way.
Yeah. Especially since most enemies take more than one hit with the fighter's sword, so boomerang just completely removes them. So coming up is a room where ordinarily 4 Stalfos will spawn around Link. You need to kill them to progress, but he's going to move in a way where 2 of the Stalfos will spawn inside of objects within the room. So only 2 come in and are loaded. So that's what happened there.
I refuse to believe it. I think Timon's just a mage.
Yeah. You're a wizard, Timon. And coming up in a few more rooms is the trick we were talking about earlier, where he's going to do a damage boost to hit a switch that's guarded by a bunch of anti-fairies. The game intends you to kill every enemy in the room, and then the anti-fairies will fly off the pot. But using a damage boost, you can use the game's invulnerability frames to get to the switch without having to do that. Just
You
like
actually,
that.
you take 2 damage there, 1 from the enemy, and then you have to be on top of the switch while you're not in damage frames. So you have to take a 2nd damage there to hit the switch. So that trick requires that you have some health by the time you get to that point, so you have to play pretty efficiently.
Yeah. The items under pots are not random at all in this game, so it's picking up his arrow pots. He knows exactly where they are.
I would hope so.
Yeah. be coming up on the first boss fight here, the Armos Knights. Normally the last one that's alive will turn red and sort of regenerate its health, but if you kill the penultimate one at nearly the same time you kill the last one, it'll end right away without having the last one turn red. And that's what he'll try for here with this setup. And you got it. So, that's good.
Interesting note about Armos Knight is that they actually set up the final Ganon bat patterns in the game.
Yeah.
There's something called the arc variable. Basically, both of them share, and depending on how efficiently you kill them, they will always have the same number when you go to... there's a variable that's set, and so at the end of the game, when you go fight Ganon... Surprise, there's Ganon, by the way. The bats will be always in the exact same pattern. Here's Saskatchewan.
Shalarsh. There's so many different ways to pronounce this guy's name.
You get the boots from Szechuan Pizza.
So here's one of the small tricks we were talking about earlier. A spin dash, where if you press dash on the first frame of a spin attack animation and touch stairs, then you can get that constant walking at dash speed, which is really fast. I'll be using that a few times on this overworld. And yeah, as soon as he gets those boots from Sastrel, it basically makes up the movement for the game.
Yeah, he did a spin speed there again. You'll see him do that quite often, as X really said.
He needs to get this Book 10 or Desert Palace, so that's why he's making this detour over here.
Yeah, again, with moving, it's extremely... everything's extremely optimized in this game. Occasionally you see that Timon won't dash in the very short scenes, just because dashing less than 4 spaces is less... It takes more time than walking. For instance, that screen there.
Yeah.
So there's a lot of minor technique across the entire game of knowing when to dash, when to spin dash, and not to do either.
Yeah, the movement for pretty much every screen has been frame optimized, so top runners like Timon know what to do everywhere.
So Eastern Palace was the first palace and is mostly... it's pretty linear compared to the rest of the palaces in the game. This is the first palace in the game where it starts to branch off and you have to actually explore, so it ends up feeling more like an actual traditional Zelda dungeon. Should we talk about the book spam?
It doesn't actually make you go faster, don't believe Andy Lasso's lies.
No, it totally makes you go faster. Conspiracy is true.
He's picking up arrows, so he has enough for the boss. He's going to fight the boss of this dungeon with arrows as well. It's just a lot faster to do it that way.
So here we get the actual Titan's Glove. That will allow Timon to pick up smaller rocks, not the larger ones, but the lighter gray colored ones. I guess that's actually the way I should say it. There's light and dark colored rocks. This will let you pick up the light colored rocks.
I'll be doing a risky spin dash here. It's really easy to accidentally jump the ledge and lose like a minute, but
yeah, if you jump off the ledge there, you have to do it all the way back through the start.
Yeah.
So that's a technique there. It's hard to, it's easy to miss, but he just did something called a key dash. And what that is if you're a value of 4 pixels away from the door and you have a key, then you can dash directly through it. Otherwise, you'll bonk off the door. In these particular cases, you can set up by pressing against the wall. So he's actually pressing against the back of the wall, or the pots in that case, to set up key dash.
Really nice torch lighting there. The lamp has it's like the only item in the game that doesn't have an animation really. So you can, press Y, have a blank frame, press Y again, and it'll light twice. So it's actually really hard to light the torch room as well. And this boss, oh boy. He's having a good fight though. Yeah, it was pretty good.
Each of those bosses will take 4 hits from the arrows and 8, I believe, from the swords.
Yeah. It takes a lot of practice to get good at killing them.
That's an extremely random boss.
Yeah. Yeah, to be good at it, you have to get really good at reading their patterns and timing the shots. So right now he's on his way to Tower of Hera. Although if you know the layout of the overworld, it might seem like he's going quite the weird direction to get there. He's actually going to be doing a fake flippers glitch right here. And you got it. So if he stands a pixel from the screen transition and jumps into the water and scrolls the screen immediately, the game will not check for flippers on the new screen, allowing him to swim to that whirlpool, which gets him right up near the entrance to Death Mountain, conveniently.
That trick is risky in the sense that if you get hit, take any damage whatsoever during the trick, you will soft lock the game.
Yeah, it's pretty brutal. And there's a Zora that spawns right near the whirlpool and tries to hit you.
It's a bane of people who are trying to learn that trick for certain.
Yeah.
He got the best RNG on the Dead Rocks.
Yeah.
These enemies are extremely annoying. For more casual play, will probably do extreme amount of pain to you. When you hit them, they actually freeze as rocks, and you cannot move them whatsoever.
Yeah, they can easily block your path and waste 10 seconds.
So this is the first instance that we've seen the Dark World. The mirror is a device that, or an item that basically lets you cycle back and forth to and from the Dark World. Well, it lets you cycle to the Dark World, from the Dark World once you're in the Dark World. You have to use a portal that's already preset in the overworld to actually enter the Dark World. However, when you use the mirror, it leaves behind a portal where you last used it.
Here he might do an item dash strat, or maybe he doesn't like it. Nah, he doesn't like it. Well, we'll have to wait on the item dash explanation.
All the way until Hammer? Oh man.
Yeah. Another use of the mirror is in dungeons. It will take you right back to the entrance, which can cut down on some backtracking in a few places. He'll be using it right after getting the big key here.
Yeah, you used it once already right at the start.
Yeah,
it just happened so quickly. It's one of those, there's a lot of small things that happen very quick in these runs.
This beetle room coming up is pretty hard to do. You have to hit a pretty precise slash. You got it. Where you like hit one off and hit the switch at the same time. We also have our first bomb jump coming up. He's gonna cross a gap to get to the big chest in a slightly faster way, using a bomb to boost himself across.
Yeah, with bomb jumps, the bomb will knock you 2 spaces across a pit if you're 2 pixels from the edge of the pit. But if you dash right before you use it, you'll end up having 6 pixel space that you can use. And you saw he dashed right through a bumper right there. Those bumpers actually through them. Quite a bit of them doesn't actually have collision.
Yeah.
This is the first boss that probably ends most casual runs, Moldorm.
He's having a really good fight, though.
Yeah, it's excellent.
Yeah, that was very good.
Trolldorm does not win today.
This is a really good Hera time. I went for another spin dash there on the stairs leaving Hera, but missed it. It's frame perfect, so pretty tough to get all of them.
When you spin, you have 1 frame afterwards to press the A button to start a dash. So if you don't hit it, it will not call. So you can always tell, though, if you can't swing your sword during that state, then you know you have spin dash queued.
Okay, so here's the rupee route we use to get money to pay Kiki. This is the monkey that opens Palace of Darkness. He pulled a rupee tree there, and there are just various pullable trees on the overworld that give you rupees. And for a long time, it wasn't known exactly how they work or what value rupee they give you. But in 2014, I believe, the runner ACMLM looked into the assembly of the game and figured out exactly what's going on. The drop value is manipulated by how many enemies you've killed and how much damage you've taken. So after pulling that first tree, his goal is to kill 4 enemies without taking any damage, and then he's going to pull another tree, and it will give him 80 rupees, which is really nice. He has to be careful not to take any damage, though, throughout this entire section, up until he pulls the second tree.
Magic tree rupees.
Yeah. And you see him killing that bird there, you might think that's random, but that's part of getting his kill counter up. And there's the 80 rupees.
There's a backup strat. If you do take damage there, there's a secondary tree that exists inside the courtyard, so you can actually... and there's enough enemies between here and there if you need to do backup kills.
Yeah.
Interesting, those trees change after you kill Aghanim.
Yeah.
They won't be used in this run, but their behavior does shift. So this is Tower of Ganon, where we fight Ganon, so, you know, like 5 minutes. This is where Aghanim is holed up after he's captured all the maidens. He's decided to take him to the top of the tower with him.
This dark room he's in can be a real pain, but he got good luck. Never got noticed by any of the guards. It's really nice to not get hit in this early part because beams kind of make the last couple of these later rooms faster. Now that he has the Master Sword, he has a sword beam thing when he has full health. Oh, he got hit there. That was unlucky. So, he'll lose a bit of time in some of these rooms, but that's fine.
Coming into Ganon's tower, he has a very precise count on his arrows as well, so
yeah,
it's exactly how many arrows he can use for Ganon's tower.
That room right there is a situation where the boomerang saves a nice little chunk of time. So now he's coming up on what is definitely the worst boss fight in the game with Aghanim here. You need to deflect his yellow attacks back at him to deal damage. But the way his cycle works, his first attack will be a yellow attack guaranteed. Then the next 3 will be a 50-50 between the yellow beams and what we call blue balls, which are a useless attack that cannot be reflected back at him. And they just waste time and annoy us.
The worst possible pattern you can get here is 15 blue balls in a row.
Yeah, he has already got 1. And to end the cycle, he'll go up to the top of the room and do a lightning attack.
So basically, every cycle is 1 guaranteed yellow ball, 3 more attacks that could be anything, and then lightning.
Yeah. Looks like he's got at least 4, I believe, if I'm keeping count correctly.
I was reading chat. They're talking about doors. I think they're more interested in doors than the battle.
Oh, he's got 5. This is some marathon luck here.
Nice.
He gets 5.
That's not terrible.
Yeah, it does lose, let's see, 36 seconds to 0. Which at a high level is a lot of time, but...
Yeah, ideally you'd want to get to Aghanim and get 0 blue balls.
Yeah. So now we're in the Dark World. You get the cool new music. Another spin dash.
So So here we're headed to Palace of Darkness. And this is where we needed the rupees from earlier, because we've got to pay off a monkey to allow us into the actual palace itself.
Yeah, when I was a kid, I really liked this dungeon because it really sets the mood. The game's getting harder, and the boss especially is just much more menacing than any of the Light World ones are.
Yeah, this is where the game really, truly starts to get difficult. The enemies here in these areas can do a serious amount of damage.
The spin dash trick, we talked a bit about it earlier in the run, but we can talk about it again, is pressing dash on the first frame of the spin attack animation. When you touch stairs, you will have that super speed. Exclusive to the Japanese 1.0 version of the game.
Yeah, there's a lot of variance on the spin dash too. In terms of, you get similar effects from item dashing, but we can't talk about that yet.
Yeah. It'll be coming up. Also, coming up in this dungeon is one of the cooler tricks in the run. It's the bomb jump to the big chest with the hammer in it.
The old hammer jump.
Yep. And it's a tough one. Double pixel perfect along the vertical position, your y-axis.
As well as timed.
Yeah, that too. He'll be setting it up on a bridge that's collapsing beneath him. He has a limited amount of time to get in the right positions.
I'll be embarrassed and Timon doesn't pull it off, though. It's actually a very difficult trick.
Yeah, for sure. Oh, and he even grabs both bombs there, which makes the timing even tighter.
Oh.
He accidentally placed the bomb up instead to the right.
Yeah, so what he's doing here with the menus is trying to get precise pixels for where he's standing to set up that jump across the gap there.
He got it second try.
The bomb has to be precisely placed, and the place you're standing needs to be precise too, at least along the up and down y-axis.
Yeah. We have a few, when speedrunners get together to discuss strats, we need names for rooms, just to know what we're referring to. And this particular room he's in is called the Sexy Statue Room. It's a funny name.
Not really. There are some sexy statues, though. Notes with statues, it's actually faster to push statues than it is to pull them.
Yeah.
And if you hold diagonal while you're pushing one, you actually move even quicker than that.
Yeah, that's why you'll typically see him sort of wiggling back and forth while pushing statues. This turtle room can be a pain. Sometimes one of the bottom turtles will move away from you at the beginning. Lose a few seconds. Now we have the Helmasaur fight. The first phase, where Helmasaur is masked, takes 17 hammer hits to break his mask. And Timon's holding his sword out here to make it a little easier, because the hammer hitbox is expanded while you're holding your sword out. Oh, that was a really good last phase. Yeah.
He actually used the hammer to do damage during the last phase too.
Yeah, which is really hard to do because you have to get to where you're damaging that green jewel in Helmasaur's face with the hammer, meaning you have to get really close.
So your sword has 4 levels of upgrades. You have the fighter sword, the master sword, the tempered sword, and the butter sword, otherwise known as the golden sword. The hammer does tempered sword level damage, so it does more damage than your regular sword would do.
Up until now, he's gone through just the sort of basic intended order of the dungeons, but that's about to completely change. He's going to be doing the 4th Dark World dungeon next in the order, which the game allows you to do. It allows you to tackle a bunch of these Dark World dungeons, just completely ignoring what the game says is the order you should do.
Non-linearity.
Yeah. It just happens to be faster, much faster, to do the 4th dungeon next, because he can get the flute along the way, and after the 4th dungeon he gets to upgrade his sword, which makes a lot of the boss fights from there go much faster. He just
did the thing.
Yeah, the hammer dash across the bridge while I was talking. That's also a Japanese 1.0 exclusive glitch, where he presses the item button and the dash button just on the same frame. That's how you do that. It's not too challenging, but it's also really cool.
You can actually item dash with several items in the game. Most of them not very useful.
The hammer is probably the most useful one, or one of the most useful ones. I guess probably the hook shot's the most useful one, but we'll get to that one when it comes up. So let's get another spin dash here. And this one's really nice because this red guard that's on that overworld screen after you defeated Aghanim is really annoying. He's also going for a spin dash here right after unlocking the bird. This spin dash only saves 10 frames. That just tells you how optimized the game is, that the top players are going for little tricks like this. Squeeze out any possible time they can from the game.
It all adds up.
Yeah. Be doing another hammer dash here. You get to see it if you missed the first one.
Interesting note about the hammer dash, you actually can't do that if you don't have a sword. Not relevant for this category, but there's several categories people speedrun in this game, and one of them, you may have seen it at SGDQ, is swordless. You cannot hammer dash if you do not have a sword.
Yeah, it's a weird quirk with the game.
So with these dungeons, you actually skip quite a few of the chests. There are 4 chests in this area. We're only going to get 1. It's pretty common with a lot of the dungeons, but this is one of the first times I guess you get to see chests that will never open.
Yeah. Coming up is a room we call the hallway, just because it's so random and annoying. He got through it pretty fun, though.
That was so random and annoying.
Yeah. Trust me, that room can go much more poorly.
Oh, absolutely. That room has earned its name.
Oh no. Okay, noticed it at least. You need to have that blown up to fight the boss at the end. Recently there was a marathon run done by ACMLM at a Quebec marathon in like Montreal, I think, and he didn't notice that he didn't blow up the floor there. Got all the way to blind.
Feels bad, man.
Yeah. That is not something you want to have happen. So he'll be getting his glove upgrade, which will lead him to a sword upgrade right after he leaves this dungeon.
Does he get a maiden upgrade?
I think he gets a maiden downgrade.
That's disappointing.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe you're into whatever
Blind is. Demon-looking things wearing a white sheet. This fight was a nightmare for me as a kid. For speedruns, though, we kind of have it all figured out. It does the exact same thing every time, so long as you do the exact same thing every time.
Yeah, Blind is that's a really good fight. Blind is one of those pattern bosses where if you memorize the exact movements, you can do it the exact same way every single time. Players like Timon just make it look too easy.
Yeah. So on this next server world, he'll be upgrading his sword, which the Tempered Sword is considerably more powerful than the Master Sword. It just makes a lot of the bosses from here much faster. And he'll also be collecting a couple of 300 rupee chests, which will allow him to buy the flippers later on.
Someone's asking what world record is. Currently an hour, 23 minutes, and 19 seconds.
Yeah. By the French-Canadian Zelda. It's incredible, this game.
The frog that doesn't stay frog for long.
These guys only charge you 10 rupees to upgrade your sword.
Just quite amazing considering they seem to be breadsmiths.
Yeah. It's definitely not a sword laying there on the table. It's totally a loaf of bread.
So it's something really, again, with the movement that's really easy to miss, but right there, something called a quick hop. So if you're at the edge of a ledge and you tap the dash button as you're pressing downward, you will save about 20 frames.
Yeah, if you just walk into a ledge normally, it'll take the game 20 frames for you to jump. I'll be entering Skull Woods.
Why is it called Skullwoods?
I don't know. Maybe because all the entrances are shaped like skulls. I don't know.
I don't think that's the reason.
Because it kills you? Is that the reason? That might be a better reason.
I think it's just because Mothula is actually quite edgy.
Yeah. Here he'll be doing another bomb jump. This one's similar to the one he used to get to the Moon Pearl. Just a slightly faster way to get over to the fire rod.
This is a dungeon where you skip pretty much all of it, notably because of that bomb jump. So in Tower Hera, you really don't save much more than a few seconds doing the bomb jump, but here you cut out quite a huge portion of the dungeon by doing the bomb jump there. Similar will be later in the run at Heist Palace.
Here are a few tough rooms, especially this room with the torches. Oh, and you got it with the item dashes too.
Yeah, but by this point in the game, you would actually have access to having half magic, which he will not be getting during this run. Oh my god, we didn't even get to talk about Mothula's combat technique.
Yeah.
It's extremely clean Mothula fight. So Mothula is interesting in that fact that if you knock them into the spikes after doing a sword splash, they won't actually take damage. So one of the problems a lot of new runners on this particular fight have is they're constantly knocking Mothula into the actual spikes and not into the open space or into those 4 blocks along the edges of the wall, and they end up doing way more slashes than are necessary to actually kill the boss. Timon just obliterated it though, so be like Timon.
Yeah. On this overworld section, he'll be collecting a few of the items he needs for later dungeons on his way to Ice Palace. He'll be getting the Quake Medallion, which you need to open to a rock, and he'll be getting the Flippers, which you need to be able to even pass through the first room of Swamp Palace.
But extra, at least, we already saw him swim.
Yeah, but the pools in Swamp Palace, there's no known way to do that fake flippers trick, and so he will need the flippers. All other instances of swimming can be get a way around it, but not that, unfortunately.
Yeah, you must pay your extortion fee to Zora to get the ability to swim.
He charges a hefty 500 rupees.
Is that the most expensive thing in this game?
believe so, yeah. And the super bomb is only 100. So yeah.
Ooh, we got the quick warp. Nice.
Yeah, I don't think we've explained that when warping between the Dark World and Light World on certain camera scroll positions, the warp animation will finish 30 frames quicker. So it's a little half second you can save on every warp.
And I believe that's x-axis dependent.
Yeah. Now he'll be headed to this whirlpool that's just outside of this Zora area. I'll put him right in front of the Ice Palace.
You think they would be more creative with their naming? Like, did they really have to call this Ice Palace?
So he has to be careful not to use the fire rod again.
Oh yes, that's actually a good point. So the boss in this particular dungeon, if you do not have half magic, which gives you double magic, it's extremely appropriately named, will require a full bar of magic energy. What do we call that in the Zelda universe anyway? It's not mana.
Yeah. Magic points. I don't know. Got hit by the spike there intentional. Well, not the second time, but the first time it was intentional.
What?
Gonna line up through the room.
Oh, is he gonna... Oh, we might not see the IPBJ anyway. Okay, we are. He was actually attempting to do a trick called hover there.
Yeah.
Hovering is an interesting technique where you can actually basically constantly reset dash over a pit and float over holes. I don't believe there's a distance max to it either. I believe you can just do it for as long as humanly possible. It's extremely difficult.
Yeah, for sure. See him making use of the funny ice physics in the game, which for whatever reason give you speed boosts when you use an item and then pivot to another direction during the item's animation. Upcoming here is Cold Stare, and this is going to be a scary fight because he only has 4 hearts. So if he touches one of the Cold Stare buttons, he's dead.
I believe. Yeah, it's extraordinarily tight.
Timon's really good at this fight, though, so I believe.
Oh, there we go.
Yep.
Yeah, I watched Timon stream, like, perfecting that technique for hours.
Yeah. That's the poke dash technique where he holds out his sword to get a sword charge and does damage and pushes the puffs into the corner by poking them and pressing dash. And then as soon as he gets that sword charge, he comes under them and gets a double spin on them in the corner. So, really good fight.
Yeah, that was extremely good. Oh, side note. Timon will not be upgrading his sword further during the run.
Yeah. It's about a minute 40 to get the next upgrade, and it doesn't save enough of that back, so the top players will not get the gold sword or the silver arrows.
You'll notice, if you're familiar with the game, there's quite a few items missing from the roster.
Oh yeah, there are quite a few. They don't even bother touching. Bottles, net, the cape, Cane of Burna.
There was another trick there that sort of just happened and disappeared. If you use the mirror in an overworld dungeon, like not dungeon, but like a cave, that's not actually considered an actual dungeon, it won't take you back to the beginning. It'll just cause a cancellation sound. However, if you're also pressing a movable block at the same time, for some reason it will just remove the movable block. It's faster than pushing it. I don't think I've ever seen anyone do that hammer dash.
Yeah, it's a really fast way to get that bomb that's in one of those pots, the pot above the queue. And he needed that bomb because he missed IPBJ, or Ice Mouse Bomb Jump, I should say.
No, let's just use acronyms and confuse everybody for the rest of
it. Yeah.
Are you down with IPBJ? I don't think that rhymes, Greenham. That's not how this works.
So this dungeon has a lot of subtle enemy RNG that can kind of screw you over. It can be hard to get through here unscathed.
This is a particular area too where you can get in trouble. Flood those areas before you've gotten the key. I don't remember where in this dungeon that becomes particularly difficult. You can get into situations where you have to mirror and exit to reset.
Yeah. Luckily, in this dungeon, you get what is, in my opinion, the best item in the game: the hook shot. Allows you to do all the cool tricks.
Cool trick number 1, using the hook shot as intended.
It's just a really fun item to move around with.
I think it is
Anyway.
probably one of my favorite items in the game, to be honest.
Yeah.
In some cases, it's actually faster than dashing, too. Coming up is Argus, which I'm sure we won't get to talk about, so we better start talking about it now. Tim's going to destroy it.
Yeah. Argus is an interesting fight. I never thought much of him as a casual player or when I was a kid or anything. It's kind of a pushover. But in a speed run, when it comes to doing him fast, it is hard. We'll see if
we already
get it here. Yeah. Oh.
Nice.
What happened there, if you do an item dash with the hook shot while you're holding your sword out, you can instantly kill the puffs. And if you do it fast enough, you can skip Argus's cycle where he throws the puffs out around him. But Timon was just a little bit slow and got what we call an invisible cycle where they're all dead, but Argus is still cycling. If you get it, you save like 5 seconds, 5 or 6 seconds. It was still a really fast fight, though. It just didn't go perfectly. It's one of the hardest strats in the game, though, so I think the world record even misses it. So now he'll be finishing up his overworld item collection in this segment. First thing he's going to do is climb Death Mountain to get the Ether Medallion. And one thing he's doing on these stairs is if he holds a sword and does a item dash with hook shot, he can climb them very quickly.
That's the third really cool thing you can do with hook shot.
Yeah.
I didn't tell you about the second one.
And you'll also be going to get the Ice Rod, which you need purely for the purpose to defeat Trinex. There's no other use for it. You got a nice heart drop there. It's really nice to have beams going into Misery Mire, which is the next dungeon he's going to be doing. This second room in Mire, which we call Mire 2, creative, is really cool when a player does it fast.
I'm really excited about what's about to happen here. He didn't do it. I thought he was going to give us some fan service. This girl wanted some fan service. There's a lot of really good techniques in this dungeon. Yeah, this run is no longer valid. We didn't get the bird toss.
Yeah. He did get Meyer too, though, which is a cool room.
These slugs actually are extremely painful. I believe they do 4 hearts of damage to you.
Oh, yeah. These later dungeons start throwing some powerful enemies around. The game expects us to have blue mail at this point in the game, which is the dungeon item in Ice Palace, but he skipped the big key and everything in Ice Palace, so no opportunity to get that. So with just the basic green mail, stuff really starts hitting for a lot of damage at this point in the game.
Yeah, and spoilers, he keeps the green mail all the way to the end.
Yeah. So that dash to spark there was intentional. It's just the fastest way to do it. If the spark boosts you, or gives you a good boost, which it did give him a good boost there. That's completely random. Just frame roll based.
So there he got the Cane of Samaria, which is required as well to beat the run. Basically lets you place energy blocks that can weigh down switches. Can also be used to damage enemies, which we'll see later.
The health route for this dungeon can also be pretty tight, because the strategy for the boss involves using damage boosts, but his health is pretty good right now with 9 hearts.
So there you can see if you break the Cane of Samaria, it'll actually shoot 4 energy beams out in different directions, the cardinal directions, and those can be used, or oftentimes are needed to be used to actually flip switches. Oh my gosh.
So the way this boss is going to work, the boss itself does a lot of damage. I think 4 hearts if you touch any part of it, the little eyes or the big eye. But he's going to walk into the slime that's surrounding the boss and get 1 heart of damage from it, and use the iframes to spin among the little eyes. That's the fastest way to do the fight. It was good. A good fight. Any wrong move there, though, and you can get in trouble fast.
Yeah, Vitreous is one of the harder bosses to learn in the run, I believe, early on, just because you really need to be precise with your timing on getting in and out of the acid. And any mistakes will cost you a massive amount of health. Also, I do promise to everybody that these bosses actually have cycles and patterns and attacks.
You're just not seeing them because Timon's going so fast. So now he's just going straight to Turtle Rock. this overworld section is notoriously trolly, because you pass so many areas with dead rocks.
Speaking of,
Yeah.
so exciting, Greenham.
This is my excited voice. I'm sorry, Greenham. So Turtle Rock is a dungeon where pretty much everything hits hard. The roller pin things do 3 hearts. The pokey enemies do 4 hearts. The chomps do 4 hearts. It's a tough dungeon.
That guy didn't do 4 hearts.
Yeah, it's one of the few. Common question we get is, why does he try for the hook on the left torch when he can do it on the right one? It's just a little faster for the camera to scroll back if you're further to the left.
Yeah, that's actually, for anyone who's not familiar, that room is timed. So there's an actual pattern you're supposed to light the torches for and then walk off normally.
Yeah.
Oh, this is unfortunate. Oh. Actually, I'll just turn around. That's exactly intended routing there. That's exactly how you should do this.
That jelly kind of got in his way pretty hard there. At least he gets the fairy drop. Rough Chomps RNG too. This is, to me, the worst room in the game. Just because it's so random, it can just completely obliterate you.
Gosh, she's amazed. Oh, hey, yeah, that happened. We haven't talked about that. I don't think it's happened in the run. So if you get hit by the yellow spinning beams, whatever I think they're just called bunny beams, you will become a bunny for a small amount of time. And during that state, you can't dash, you can't attack.
It's completely unavoidable on 2 of the patterns you can get in that room. And Timon got one of those patterns, so.
Timon should get better patterns.
Yeah. Usually if it happens to you, it happens because you messed up, but not in that room necessarily.
So what Timon's doing here is you can actually stand on top of the blocks that go up and down and use them to gain iframes. Also, just to use them to gain some time, because you don't have to be on one side of the barrier or the other.
Yeah. This maze is so annoying casually. Of course, in a speedrun, you have it all memorized, but I remember finding it annoying as a kid.
Laser skip.
Yeah, so the game intends you to have the mirror shield here, which is the item in wow, he did it the fast way too. The mirror shield, which can deflect the lasers, but there's like a 5-pixel window to just dash through.
So upcoming is the boss. Should probably start talking about it because kill him in like 6 seconds.
Yeah, so just the main thing here is he's gonna go behind Trinex to just get hits in quicker. And he's gonna make sure he does all his menuing when the explosions are not happening, because you can't actually open the pause menu while any of the heads are exploding. And then for the last part, oh wow, it's down to half part. For the last part, he's gonna try and get a quick kill on the head. He doesn't.
So that last particular area, normally only the body of the snake can be damaged, but that doesn't occur until it leaves its pattern of walking down and then across the room once. At that point, you can still hit the head. So if you line up properly, you can pretty much kill it before it even reaches the wall.
Yeah.
So many maidens and crystals.
This is the last one, though. This is Zelda.
Do you think Aghanim chose which? He was really meticulous about which ones go in which dungeons?
I have no idea. I assume maybe because Zelda's in the last one.
Blind was I really want to beat this one.
So this is every runner's favorite dungeon. It's because it's so cool and fun.
This is actually Ganon's Tower.
Yeah.
I said another place was Ganon's Tower earlier.
Yeah.
He's really loving the hookshot in this area.
Yeah.
So this is an example there of using the iframes from the up-down blocks to let you walk through those spikes.
We'll be going for a little skip on the last warp tile in this warp tile maze. You can just plonk past it. It's a little precise, but not too bad. He gets it. Now coming up's the first boss refight. He's gonna have to refight Armos, except this time they're on ice.
Armos on ice.
Yeah. It's your new Disney feature coming soon to a town near you.
It was a little short. Not enough maidens in that fight.
Now, upcoming is a couple really hard rooms. The two mimic rooms in Ganon's Tower, which mimics are what we call these enemies that copy your movements. I believe their official name is Garaya.
Yeah, it's interesting because the game before this, they were boomerang throwers, and then this one,
Yeah.
They're just weird. I don't know what they are. This is the gauntlet starting now.
Yeah.
It'll be a series of combat rooms.
It's 5 rooms where you have to kill all the enemies to progress. And it's pretty tough to have them all go well. But players like Timon are well practiced at it.
He's just getting really lucky. He's never actually played this game before.
Yeah.
Second reboss battle coming up.
Yeah, this time with Lamolas, he has the fire rod, so a 1 round is certainly possible. And that's what happens.
There's actually holes in those floors, the invisible floors. But
Yeah.
Timon knows the one block that you're supposed to walk. It's very difficult. Yeah, if you actually waste, during a speedrun, if you waste all your magic on Lamola, this room becomes impossible.
Yeah. Yeah, the magic routing at the back end of this dungeon is really tight. We might see Timon go for the final magic skip. Or no, now we won't because he missed a shot in the second torch room. I know sometimes he likes to go for it, and that makes the Ganon fight kind of tricky.
Second version of Troll Dorm.
Yeah, this time a single slash and then a spin will do him in. You get to skip the phase where he's moving really fast and erratically, which is nice.
But I like the fast and erratic phase. So here we fight Aghanim again. As if once wasn't enough. Ooh, nice. You need to hit 6 of the attacks back to him this time.
He has his 2 clones to help him, but they actually end up helping you. Luckily, the clones cannot shoot blue balls, otherwise it'd be a pretty awful fight.
It's very convenient that Ganon brings you back here. Oh wait, the bird does. It's very convenient that the bird brings you back here.
Yeah. The bird that you're not supposed to be able to call in the Dark World, but randomly works there anyway. So the way Ganon works, he has 4 phases. This first phase where he throws the trident should only happen once if everything goes well. And that is what happens. And the second phase is where he spawns his fire bat ring. And Timon has very specific setup to deal the right amounts of damage to end both of those phases as quickly as possible.
The fire bats will do 4 hearts of damage each. They will wreck you.
Yeah. Touching Ganon's sprite itself does 8 hearts of damage, which is ridiculous. But yeah. So here he'll be going for Torch Glitch as soon as he gets this phase over with, which the left torch goes out several frames before the right one does. And if you light the left one before the right one goes out, the right one will never go out. And that makes this last phase considerably easier to deal with.
Normally, you're expected to have the silver arrows at this point. However, there's a 2-frame window after each bat attack that you can use the sword spin on to do damage to them.
Yeah, landing these spins is pretty hard to do at first, but get used to it. And we've got time coming up as he enters this next room.
That was time.
Time. Hey, everyone.
126.22.
Oh, wow. Better than I thought, to be honest, because a lot of stuff went wrong.
Yeah. 5 blue balls and...
Alrighty. 126.22, Timon. You okay with that? Like, is that alright?
I'm okay with considering all the stuff that happened in a couple segments, like bigger mistakes. That's pretty good, I guess.
Alright. I gotta tell, like, A Link to the Past is my true passion. So, I loved every single second of it.
Nice, I appreciate it.
Triforce gets...
Hope it was entertaining. Hope you had a good comment.